Hey guys, and welcome back to the Fantasy Line. And today we have a lot to go over. We're going to go over each game and our thoughts on the games and some sell low, buy high players. And let's get it started with the Monday night recap. Falcons go in. Kirk 2 chains beats the Eagles in the last drive. Kirk looked like vintage Kirk on the last drive. Had a slow start. What are you guys' thoughts on the Falcons' offense in that game?
If you were watching that game, Bijan looked like amazing. Every time he touched the ball, it was like 10-yard gain. And I think both running backs in this game looked really good. Obviously, Bijan he went 14 for 97, 16 and a half points in PPR. He just couldn't get into the end zone. I think this offense looked good. Drake London got that garbage time touchdown. So I'm not high on Drake London still. I mean, they weren't targeting him. They were getting him on little posts across the field, but other than that, I'm not high on Drake London. I think this could be a sell opportunity personally. But yeah, and then this offense looked good with Bijan, but I'm not super high on Drake London and everything. So
I think this offense, it looked not good, to be honest. Kirko did good, Kirko chains, but besides that last drive, it was just like the offense was stagnant. I don't think Drake London is not going to be good. Bijan did really well. I really like Bijan coming into the season. I think this is what everybody hoped for him to be, and he is becoming that person that everyone wanted him to be. But I think this offense right now is not the same. On the Manning show, they had Matt Ryan on for the last drive, and they're talking about how in the 2-minute drill, that's when you just play ball. That's when it's everything you first installed day one, that. Those are all the plays that come out, and those are just the key plays. And it's they're just good plays, and they're just scoring. So I feel like in the 2-minute drill, Kirk Cousins performed, but other than that, in this offense, Kirk Cousins, wasn't the best whatsoever.
I think they're still just getting the flow of things. I mean, this game we saw Kirk Cousins come out from under center a lot more, and we saw a little more mobility from him. He wasn't just a cone in the pocket, and I just got a different take. I mean, you saw that route in the end. Everyone saw it from Drake London. I think that was a great route. He just cooked Slay. London's been my guy. I mean, he got the touchdown. I think he's starting to build a little bit of chemistry. He was 6 receptions on 7 targets, 54 yards and a touchdown. Yeah, he had a slow start, but the opening drive he already had 2 targets. So Kirk Cousins came out and said that he wants to get Drake London the ball more. So yeah, that's what I think about that. I think London's a good. I mean, I'm the complete opposite. I think I'm buying low on Drake London. I think he's a solid wide receiver too going forward. And then moving on to Kyle Pitts. Pitts is just nowhere to be seen. He was 3 receptions on 4 targets for 20 yards. Just nowhere. He's not fantasy relevant, I don't think. I think it's just going to be a Bijan and Drake London ran offense. And then if you need a flex play, maybe Darnell Mooney had a huge catch. But yeah. What do you guys think of Darnell Mooney and Kyle Pitts?
Kyle Pitts, man, this is supposed to be the next guy in the NFL. This is supposed to be the next tight end prospect that's going to be breaking records and stuff. But it's just not looking good, man. It's just 3rd year in the NFL at this point, and he hasn't done anything really. He had 1,000 yards his rookie year, but now it's just come on, man, we got to do something in this league. And then when it comes to Darnell Mooney, like Alex was saying, he had that one big play. He had 7 targets, only came down with 3 receptions. At the end, he had 2, big receptions on that final drive. But yeah, I don't think he's going to be someone I'm looking to start in any league personally, unless something happens to Drake London or something. I'm not looking to start Darnell Mooney, and Kyle Pitts is going to be that, you're going to have to start him because you drafted him high kind of tight end play, I feel like. So.
Yeah, I feel like Pitts is who Brock Bowers is right now, where everyone wanted Pitts to be like Brock Bowers is. Brock Bowers is doing what Pitts should have done. Mm-hmm. And Pitts is, besides his rookie year, which he had 1,000 yards, he hasn't done that whatsoever. Mooney has potential. I mean, he had 7 targets. That's same amount as Drake London. So I don't think Mooney could be a play later on in the future, but right now it's just kind of whatever. But what do you guys think about the Eagles' offense without AJ Brown? Like, how do you think that's going to work out? I mean, we kind of saw it. Like, he's kind of targeting Devontae Smith a lot, and they're getting number 18, Copley, the ball a decent amount, kind of like get him in space. I know like they use Saquon a lot, but how do you guys feel about like this Eagle offense?
I think going into this game, I mean, I sent you a text that I think Kirk's gonna win this game. There's a text message I sent it. I don't think it was a good game script necessarily for the Eagles to win this game, even though they should have won the game. Saquon sold the game. There just wasn't a lot of touchdowns in the first half, but I mean, Jalen Hurts fantasy relevant was amazing. He was 23 for 30. He had 183 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, but really where he had 13 attempts for 85 rushing yards and a touchdown, which definitely helped a lot of fantasy teams win some weeks. I think he was fine going in this week. He's still a top 3 QB every week. And then obviously we have Saquon Barkley goes out there, dominates again, 22 for 95, didn't get in the end zone, but he also had 4 receptions on 5 targets for 21 yards. So, I mean, those were the 2 key players. And then, of course, we have Devontae Smith, who carried the load. He had 10 targets, 7 receptions, 76 yards, and a touchdown. I feel like this is kind of what we expected from Devontae Smith, just with A.J. Brown being out. He was going to be a target hog and have a good fantasy game. Just a solid outing. I think it was like 17 or 20 points he had. But, yeah, Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, I think this is what we were expecting from the Eagles offense. If A.J. Brown's out, it's going to be Devontae Smith. And Saquon Barkley is going to get his every week. I was a little bit surprised to see Dallas Goedert not get as involved as he thought he might have. Tight ends are still not really doing a whole lot in the league. But I thought just with A.J. Brown being out of this game, I thought Dallas Goedert might get a little bit more. He only had 4 targets, 3 receptions for 38 yards. So it's a little disappointing. Just from a perspective of fantasy, I think that he's going to kind of sucks, man. But A.J. Brown's going to come back in a couple weeks. I think he's going to be that bona fide stud still. Jalen Hurts, with A.J. Brown out, I mean, Jalen Hurts is going to rush the ball, I feel like, a lot more. He had a lot of, big carries. Like we saw on that 3rd down on that 1 touchdown drive. He like didn't run out of bounds. Like it didn't look like what he did last year where he would just run out of bounds and, go on 4th and 3. He like made a juke move and, push for that 1st down, which was really good to see from Jalen Hurts there, coming off his knee injury last year. So, I think this is what we're expecting, and yeah.
No, yeah, I think
Yeah.
Eagles. I think they're going to be. I don't know. There's mixed reports about AJ Brown, which is kind of confusing. Like some people said, "Oh, he'll be playing like next week," and then he came out and said that he was going to play a couple weeks. So I really don't. I know they kind of came out the injury like on like Sunday morning. Like they were like, "Oh yeah, AJ Brown's out." It's like that was a quick like. At least they helped out fantasy managers with that. But I don't know really like how long he's really going to be out. I don't feel like anybody really knows. I feel like there's a chance that he could play this week, but I mean, I know the report was saying like he's going to be out for a couple of weeks, but really, I mean, they also have a bye. Their bye week is 5. So I mean, like a couple of weeks, like next week's week 3, then week 4, like I can see him missing the next 2 games, honestly, just coming back till after the bye, if they say a couple of weeks. I don't really know about that whole situation.
Yeah, I think that's what happens. I think A.J. Brown misses the next 2 weeks just for the Eagles to be safe. And then he comes back and then he's fully healthy. But yeah, just with that being said, I mean, I think Devontae Smith with A.J. Brown being out, so receiver 1 every week, top 5 potential. But okay, wrapping up that game. Moving on to the Bears versus Texans. This wasn't the best game. It was a little ugly, but Caleb Williams was 23 for 37, 174 yards, 2 interceptions. He was sacked 7 times. He had 5 rushing attempts for 44 yards. He is not fantasy reliable at all. He seemed as if he couldn't complete a pass for more than 5 yards downfield. And the Bears did not look good this game offensively. I mean, we saw DeAndre Swift get 14 carries this game, and they try to feed him. But Caleb Williams is just not looking good to start off the season. And, I mean, DJ Moore was receiver 1. He had 6 receptions for 10 targets, 53 yards. He had a decent game with Keenan Allen out. Still have him valued as a low-end wide receiver 2 with Allen out. But seeing how Caleb Williams is playing, in their offensive line, it's just not looking good for really any pass catchers in this offense. And Adunze going out there, We weren't sure if he was going to play, but he ended up playing, which honestly surprised me. I didn't think he was going to play. He had 2 receptions, 33 yards, not really anything crazy. What do you guys think on the Bears?
I mean, I was expecting more from DJ Moore, but I think this is a Caleb Williams factor. And I think that this offensive line is quite a problem. But overall, I think that this offense is I think they're going to get going. I still think Caleb Williams is going to, do his thing a little bit as the season goes on, just like most rookies, it takes a little bit of time to develop. I don't think this is a Bryce Young situation by any means. We'll have to see, wait for that to develop. But yeah, I think that DJ Moore is going to be solid going forward. DeAndre Swift, man, I don't like DeAndre Swift. I wasn't high on him coming into the year. I don't think we're going to be starting him anywhere really. So yeah, I mean, Bears offense as a whole just needs to fix some things to get their offensive line improved.
Yeah, I agree with Joe. Like, this offensive line is terrible, and I feel like that's going to be kind of like the downfall. I also don't like their offensive coordinator. Shane Waldron, he was offensive coordinator for the Seahawks last season, and we saw how that was. Like, this guy, I mean, he had DK Metcalf and JSN and Lockett, and it was like JSN wasn't even like irrelevant in that offense. Like, it was just like, what are we doing with this top first round draft pick? So I feel like the offensive coordinator could be holding them back, but their offensive line definitely is holding them back. And like, about Caleb Williams, he's a rookie. Like, that is like, people expect these rookies to come out guns a-blazing and have phenomenal seasons. It's rare that happens, especially in a quarter position. It can happen, but like, Peyton Manning threw 30 interceptions his rookie year, and look who he became to be. So it's like, it's his first year. I think just give him time, and we'll see how it develops.
Yeah. And then moving on to the Texans offense. I mean, Stroud, 23 for 36, 260 passing yards and a touchdown. Just a decent outing, 16 fantasy points. It was just a very low scoring game. I feel like he's still an every week must start, just where you draft him as your QB1. But just because of the potential with this offense and all their weapons. Mixon, he had 9 carries for 25 yards, 3 receptions for 25 yards as well. Mixon got hurt in this game. That's why his numbers are low. But it's still very early in the but it's still an every week must start, as we see his volume from week 1. He just went out there and killed it. The only reason he didn't get those 30 carries that he did, I think mainly was because of his injury, because the game script was there. I mean, they didn't really need to keep up with the Bears. The Bears sucked. But we saw Cam Akers come in for Mixon. He's not fantasy relevant, as he was the RB2. He was only the RB2 because Pierce was out. But he could be worth a stash, depending on, I don't know Pierce's injury, but how long he's out, he could be worth a stash, because Mixon, he came back in for 5 plays, but then he went back out. So I'm not really sure about his injury. So Pierce could be a sneaky pickup this week. And then moving on to that dominant receiver 1, Nico Collins, he went out there and killed it. 8 receptions on 10 targets, 135 yards, a touchdown, 24 fantasy points. The clear every week wide receiver 1. He currently has the most receiving yards in the league through 2 weeks. I think it's like 234. But his second straight week going over 100 yards. And where you drafted him, I think that's just amazing. I mean, going into the draft, I honestly wasn't huge on Nico Collins. Personally, I didn't really want Nico, but I mean, after seeing what he's done, he's clearly separated himself from the other 2 receivers. I think he's a great every week start, wide receiver 1. Diggs, just a decent outing, 4 receptions on 6 targets, 37 yards. If you sold him when we told you to, you got some value. I think this is just a classic game for Diggs. I don't think he's doing nothing special. Moving on to a guy, Tank Dell. I was never high on this guy going into drafts. I don't know why people are. I mean, he had 1 reception on 4 targets for -3 yards. But they were at least trying to get him involved in the rushing game. He had 3 attempts for 16 yards. Just another bad outing. And at least Houston's offense was trying to get him involved. But I'm probably moving Tank to the flex, and I have him ranked as a wide receiver 3 going forward. What are your guys' takes on the Texans offense?
Yeah, Nico's that dude, man. Nico's great. He's just dominant. He's so physical. He's 6'4", like 2-something. He's just an absolute beast on the field. And then when it comes to Joe Mixon, this was an ankle injury on a hip drop tackle, which wasn't even called. It's like come on, they implemented this rule and they don't even call it. It's like, what are we doing, guys? People are getting hurt. So yeah, Mixon, if you saw the replay, he got rolled up on his ankle as the linebacker was making that tackle, and he came back in and then left again. So they probably wrapped up his ankle. He probably was like, oh, let's go. Like, I'm ready to go. Went back out, realized, oh, it's swelled up now. And then he had to go out of the game. It's just classic, in my opinion. This is normally what just happens with ankle injuries. We're going to have to see what kind of grade it is moving forward for Mixon. But even if he does miss time, K-Makers, like Alex was saying, could be a sneaky stash right there. So.
Yeah, I think, K-Makers could be good. Joe Mixon, yeah, if it's a high ankle, he either plays the first week or he misses a couple of weeks. We'll see, like, what happens this week. Nico Collins is the dominant wide receiver on the team. Like, he is the clear-cut wide receiver one. For Tank Dell, I personally still like Tank Dell. Like, they're still trying to give him the offense, and I think they're trying to figure out how to get him involved in the offense. And I feel like once they do figure out how to get him the ball in the offense, then I think he's better than how he has been playing. So I think Tank Dell's gonna probably pick it up pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just speaking on the Joe Mixon injuries, just the amount of injuries around the league. I mean, probably everyone in your league has lost one or multiple people due to injury, but we'll get you guys next week with that injury report as we move later on to the week. Moving on, Colts versus Packers. Packers upset the Colts. Malik Willis, 12 for 14, 122 yards, 41 rushing yards. No impact for him. He's not going to pass the ball. It's just going to be handing off to Jacobs. I wouldn't even stash him, really. Just Jordan Love's going to be back. I don't think next week, but the week after, I think he's going to come back, and Malik Willis is going to be irrelevant. Speaking about a workhorse, Josh Jacobs took over the Joe Mixon role last week. He had 32 carries, 151 yards, only 15 fantasy points. Well, we clearly saw how this offense is going to run. Just give Jacobs the ball and see what happens with Malik Willis as quarterback. The good news for Jacobs on the ground, but a little concerning for his fantasy outlook going forward with Malik Willis, just due to PPR reasons, as he had 0 targets. So that is bad for a PPR league. Just having that amount of volume and only putting up 15 points is just a little bit of a down week. But still solid. You're starting him every week. He has a lot of upside. Romeo Dobbs, 3 for 3, 62 yards. Wicks went 3 receptions on 4 targets for 26 yards and a touchdown. And then Jaden Reed, 2 receptions on 2 targets for 9 yards. I don't think any of these receivers are relevant, as Malik Willis is not going to pass the ball for over 150 yards a game. But what is your guys' thoughts on this Packers offense?
Yeah, Malik Willis can't facilitate an offense in the league. His offense relies on just run the ball every single time you have the ball. They just, like Alex was saying, Joe Mixon rolled with Josh Jacobs. They were just run the rock 24/7. They didn't even want to pass the ball. Wicks had that touchdown. I mean, I just think that there's really nothing to take away from this game just because it wasn't a Jordan Love game. So not a whole lot of takeaways. Jacobs is going to be solid, like I was saying before. He's going to get the volume in this offense without Jordan Love in the game. So.
Yeah, Jacobs is just going to be the main focal point of this offense. Everybody right now is just going to be irrelevant unless they get, like a touchdown like Jadeveon Wicks. But other than that, like it's everybody else in the offense is kind of just right now irrelevant besides Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, I agree. And then moving on to the cold side of the game, Anthony Richardson was 17-34, a touchdown, threw 3 interceptions, had 37 rushing yards. He looked horrible. If you watch the game, he couldn't get anything going. The first half, he had negative points. What do you guys think about Anthony Richardson? What are we doing? Are we trying to sell him? Are we buying him? Are we holding him? Is he a starter?
I think that this is his 5th game he's ever started in the NFL. I think that he's still a rookie, honestly. I think that this is something that we could expect from Anthony Richardson. I don't think, like we were saying before, like he came out, he had 9 for 19 for 200 yards in his first game. I don't think that's going to be something that's going to keep up. He's a very inaccurate passer. He's just a raw prospect in this league. He's going to have to mature a little bit, just like pocket presence, knowing when to, check the ball down, knowing when to, use his legs, which is his biggest asset as a fantasy player. So I think that overall, I think he's still maturing as a rookie. He's going to have big boom weeks, but I don't know when that's going to happen. That's going to be unpredictable. So yeah, I think this is something that I would personally was expecting. I wasn't expecting Richardson to come out and just be a bona fide stud right off the bat. So
Yeah, with you taking a gamble, I think everybody knew taking Anthony Richardson would be a gamble. Like he's an accurate passer. He's a big guy who can run. It's like that. That's one thing that everybody loves in fantasy football is if you're a QB and you can run, like you're golden. But his passing is below average, plain and simple. In like the league, like it's not anything special. Like he can throw the deep ball, but he's not accurate whatsoever.
Just a quick question: would you guys rather start Brock Purdy against the Rams this week or Anthony Richardson against Chicago?
I'm taking Brock Purdy. Chicago's defense is elite. Honestly, Chicago's defense, led by the linebackers T.J. Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds, they're great defense. They obviously shut down the Texans, only scoring 19 points. And I felt like the Texans were blowing them out, but then I look at the score, I'm like, wait a second, like this game was super close, and that's because of their defense. So I'm taking Brock Purdy just as a safe play. I don't think Richardson's going to get anything going against the Bears defense this week.
Yeah, I agree with Joe. I'm Brock Purdy.
Okay.
Even without Debo playing.
Yeah.
And then just to talk about the running back, Jonathan Taylor looked great. 12 carries, 103 yards, 2 receptions, 32 yards, 15 fantasy points. Last drive, I don't know what was wrong with him, but he wasn't in. So I don't know if that's an injury concern.
Entire fourth quarter.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The fourth. So he had some type of injury concern. We'll keep you guys updated on that going forward. And then Alec Pierce looked awesome again. 5 receptions on 7 targets, 56 yards and a touchdown, 16 points. He seems to be the wide receiver 1 in this offense, and I think he's a flex play going forward until he shows he's not, because he had 15 points week 1, 16 points week 2. I think he's solid. And then we saw Michael Pittman just disappoint again. 3 receptions on 7 targets, 21 yards. He was tied for the most targets, but moving forward, I'm probably just going to put him on my bench until I can see Anthony Richardson just get something going. What are your guys' thoughts on Pierce and Michael Pittman?
I think that I agree with what you're saying. I think this is sad for Michael Pittman owners, man. He's not doing anything really. And Pierce is just going to be a flex. He's a solid flex star right now. I think that his volume is, he's kind of relying on that touchdown right now, heavy. Like in this game, if he doesn't score that touchdown, he's not doing a whole lot. So I think that he could be someone you could spot start. But with my viewpoint on Richardson not being that much of a passer in this league, I don't think I'm going to be starting any of these Colts receivers options. But I am obviously starting Jonathan Taylor as that RB1 every week. So
yeah, I think Josh Downs possibly comes back this week. I haven't really seen any reports. I know like last game he was questionable. I know he's questionable this week as well, coming back from that high ankle sprain. So he could kind of change around who Anthony Richardson likes throwing the ball to. But we'll see. And I think, I don't know, I like Pierce. I think Pierce has been, clearly the wide receiver 1 on his offense. So I think Pierce could be a good like flex play. I think he's a good waiver. He's a good stash. I would say if you need to play someone during the week, I feel like Pierce is a good pickup this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then moving on to unfortunately the Niners-Vikings game. Vikings come out there and beat my Niners. It just seems like they have a plan every year to just beat the Niners. The Vikings, they're off to a hot 2-0 start. Is Sam Darnold the real deal? He just had a revenge game on the Niners, and then there was an Instagram thing saying they shouldn't have released me. But Sam looked good, 17 for 26, 268 yards, 2 touchdowns. I don't think he's fantasy relevant, but in a deeper league, I'd say he's worth a stash. Jefferson shows out with a 99-yard touchdown. He only had 4 receptions on 7 targets, but he had 133 yards, 23 fantasy points. Still an every week must start, wide receiver 1. Ty Chandler should be on benches. Ty Chandler should be on your bench. But he went out there and he had 10 attempts for 82 yards. And he outplayed Jones, averaging 8 yards a carry against the Niners. It's crazy. Jones only had 9 attempts for 32 yards on the ground. But he was fantasy relevant because he did have 6 targets, 5 receptions, 32 yards, 15 fantasy points. I think he's still an RB2. I'd say he's a mid-end RB2, like right there with Dave Montgomery. What is your guys' thoughts on this Vikings offense?
Sam Darnold is looking good, man. I mean, surprise quarterback, Sam Darnold. I mean, freaking Derek Carr, like Baker Mayfield. Like these guys are slinging the rock, and they look good, man. They like Sam Darnold coming out. Obviously, everyone saw the 97-yard touchdown to Justin Jefferson. But yeah, I mean, this offense is solid. I think once TJ Hawkinson comes back, this offense is going to be a whole lot better, just because he's going to be that reliable option over the middle of the field. But yeah, this offense is good. And I mean, surprisingly, like the Niners, they couldn't really do much against this offense. I mean, their defense is elite, but this offense was just, picking them apart. So
Yeah, this offense is good. Justin Jefferson, he is the number one wide receiver in the entire NFL. Like I think like he is better than Tyreek Hill. So I think like this offense always has a chance to Justin Jefferson always has a chance to go off. His offense I think always has a chance to go off too because of Justin Jefferson and his like explosive play ability. I am a Ty Chandler fan, not really much of an Aaron Jones fan. So I mean I think Ty Chandler could be a good pickup. I know Aaron Jones was hurt. I haven't heard much about his injury. I know he like left the game early, but Ty Chandler could start getting a bigger role in his offense, which could be a good pickup, especially in this offense with Sam Darnold as the quarterback.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, just how the offense has been moving. It's looking good. Moving on Niners side of things, Purdy goes out there 28 for 36, 319 passing yards and a touchdown. I think Purdy struggled in this game, especially losing Debo, but the Niners still have weapons, and I think you should feel fine starting him every week going forward, especially against the Rams this week. Jordan Mason is just killing it. 20 carries for 100 yards, a touchdown. He's an RB1 every week going forward as McCaffrey's out. Hopefully you got him on your waivers while you can if you're a McCaffrey owner. Debo kills it. 8 receptions, 10 targets, 110 yards. Looked great, but has a calf injury, and I'm thinking he's going to miss 2 to 3 weeks. But we'll keep you guys updated on that. I think the main beneficiary from this offense is going to be George Kittle going forward. George Kittle had 7 receptions on 8 targets, 76 yards, and a touchdown, 20 fantasy points. And he should be in for huge weeks. I think he's going to be the tight end number 1 moving forward these next 4 weeks. Just with no Debo and no McCaffrey, it's going to be a Kittle show. And then the last guy, Moneybags Ayuk, 4 receptions on 5 targets, 43 yards. Another bad outing, but especially with Debo and McCaffrey out, I think Ayuk should have a big bounce back week. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think Kittle and Ayuk are going to run this offense. Obviously, Jordan Mason is that dude, as we can see. So yeah, once Debo and McCaffrey come back, this offense is going to go back to its normal, split of fantasy points. But right now, it's going to be really concentrated on those two, Kittle and Ayuk. I am interested to see Ayuk come out and actually do something. We haven't really seen it all this year, so I'm excited to see that. So yeah.
Yeah, as we can see from Ayuk's two slow games, that being a baby during training camp really works out well for you, especially after you get paid. He's done nothing for how much he's getting paid, and it is terrible. I wish the Niners would have traded his bum ass. But Kittle, I think Kittle's going to be tight end 1. Kittle was at training camp, and we know Kittle has performed when other stars are out. When Debo's out or when Ayuk's out, like Kittle has put on a show. So I feel like right now is probably going to be the Kittle show. I do see Mason getting more involved in the passing game. That's kind of not been his game. And I think like Juszczyk's been in for some of like the passing downs and stuff like that. So I do think like Mason's could start scoring even more points if he starts catching the ball. But we'll see how his offense goes without Debo for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, Kittle's is a great guy, great football player. Going to be a great fantasy player going forward. Just a quick question: are you guys trying to buy or sell Brandon Ayuk right now?
I would lean slightly towards buying. As a Debo owner, I'm not going to be buying him, just because I'm waiting for Debo to come back. But I think that I believe in the Ayuk coming back to fantasy relevance. Bouncing back from this just awful start. So I mean, buying him here is I feel like it's definitely a smart move, something that you could probably get done. But with the Ayuk manager knowing that it's going to be that breakout coming soon with all these injuries, I think that's going to be hard to buy him low. You'll probably have to pay a price that you probably don't want to pay.
I would say buy, especially if he doesn't perform these next couple of weeks with Debo being out. It's going to get noisy for him, especially how much he got paid. So I think I'd be betting on him to perform better in these next couple of games. If he doesn't, then I feel like it's going to get real loud for people screaming about Ayuk did not deserve 30, 32 million, whatever he got paid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like he's a buy. It's just going to be a hard buy just because everyone has the same expectations going forward. Moving on to the Browns versus Jags. Just going to go over this briefly. The Jags look absolutely horrendous. Lawrence, 14 for 30, 220 passing yards. He's not fantasy relevant. I think he's benching you. He's on your bench. I think Baker Mayfield's a better start than him going forward. Brian Thomas looks like an explosive deep threat. 2 receptions, 4 targets, 94 yards, had that one big play. He could be worth a flex going forward. And then my guy I was talking about, Christian Kirk, he absolutely sucks. He went out there and had one catch on 3 targets for -1 yards. I feel like I had high expectations for him going forward, but you're not starting him. Like, I don't think I can drop him just yet, but he's found his way to my bench. ETN looks solid, 13 for 52 and a touchdown, 14.8 points. Bigsby suffered a shoulder injury, so he had no touches in his game. That's why ETN got more of the load. But what do you guys think about this Jags offense?
I think that they could be in for a little bounce back. I think that just with playing, I mean, obviously the Cleveland Browns have an amazing defense, in my opinion, top 5 defense in the league. So we knew it was going to be a tough matchup. I think that this offense is going to bounce and be a little bit better. I don't think they're going to be anything crazy, but I think when it comes to just scoring touchdowns and scoring points, I believe in them being better, which means I believe in, I believe in Christian Kirk being a little bit better. Obviously, I'm the Brian Thomas guy. I think Brian Thomas is still going to be great moving forward. ETN, big ETN guy as well. So I'm heavily bought into this offense. And the 2 guys I'm bought into are producing right now for fantasy, and I could see them producing even more in the future. So,
yeah, I think this offense is still like second game. They're still trying to figure things out because they really have never had a guy like Brian Thomas. You can say Calvin Ridley, but he was a bum, plain and simple. So I think like this offense is completely changed with Brian Robinson in the lineup. So I feel like it's just taking time for them to adjust, and I feel like they are. Again, I agree with Joe that they're going to pick it up.
Yeah, especially with just their expectations going into the season. And then just the Browns, Deshaun Watson, nothing crazy. He had 15 fantasy points, 22 for 34, 186 yards, no passing touchdowns, but he did have 5 attempts, 20 yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. A little bit of confusion in this backfield. Jerome Ford goes out there, only has 7 attempts he has 64 yards though, 9 yards a carry. But Dante Foreman looked like he was getting more of the workload this week. He had 14 attempts for 42 yards. So that's just something to watch out for. I don't know if this is going to be an every week thing going forward, as we saw Ford dominate the carries week 1 and Foreman was irrelevant. Then just moving over to the pass catchers. Jerry Jeudy, just 5 receptions, 73 yards. Elijah Moore, 6 receptions, 44 yards. Both of them worth the stash. I don't know if I'm starting them just yet. And then I guess you got to talk about my guy briefly, Amari Cooper. I mean, this man just goes out there and has another 8-target game. Deshaun Watson. Okay. Amari Cooper, I don't think it's Deshaun Watson's fault. I think it's the Cooper fault. If you watch that game, he can't catch the ball. Like, I almost lost it. He just can't catch the ball. It's right through his hands. If I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm not passing the ball either. But just on that note, 3 receptions, 8 targets. He only had 11 yards. Crappy fantasy game for him. What do you guys think about this Browns offense?
Yeah, I think that the Foreman usage was a little worrisome as a Ford owner. But we saw Jerome Ford week 1. I think he had like a 40-yard run in this game, and then it just didn't give him the ball ever again, which was, quite surprising in my opinion. And then Alex's hot take might be the worst hot take of all hot takes to ever be hot taked. So, I mean, I don't know, man. Deshaun Watson is just not a good quarterback, sadly to say. So, overall, I think this offense is going to be moving forward just mid, honestly, just really mid, carried by their defense. So,
Yeah, I think Amari Cooper's checked out. Especially him wanting to probably come to the Niners, which I'd rather have him instead of IU currently. I'm IU hater right now and be straight up honest. I'd rather have. I think Amari Cooper is just checked out of the Browns. Like he's just done. Like he does not want to be there. Poop Town Browns. Deshaun Watson again, another charge on him. I think this seems kind of a mess right now offensively with Deshaun Watson and his shoulder injury. So I feel like Amari Cooper, I can see him crazy take getting traded in the middle of his offseason, realizing that he's like, I don't want to be here anymore. Especially because this is like his last year in his contract too. So I can see him getting traded, especially how bad he's playing right now, being like he does not want to be there. But this Browns offense is just whatever.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, I mean, Nona Joku, he's also out the injury. There's chance he plays this week. We're not sure about that. And then also Nick Chubb, he's gonna be coming back soon. That's gonna be a great boost. But obviously, we're gonna have to see what happens. Just for me, I have to give Amari Cooper one more week. He's going against the Giants this week. If he doesn't make something happen this week, he's moving to the bench. But I think he's worth one more start this week. Would you guys be buying or selling Amari Cooper right now?
Holding. I don't think anyone can. I don't think you're going to be selling Amari Cooper. I don't think there's anyone out there who wants to buy Amari Cooper right now, just after watching, 2 drop touchdowns in back-to-back weeks. And if you have Amari Cooper, I'm sorry, because you're going to have to just hold them. There's nothing much you can do in this situation. It's kind of just one of those situations where it just sucks, man. It really does. You have to wait out and see. Maybe he'll come out and, drop 269 yards in a game eventually. But I think we're going to have Joe Flacco if that's going to happen. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just a hold. Nothing. I mean, if you can get rid of him for something decent, then I'd get rid of him for something decent. But other than that, I'm just holding on to him.
Yeah. And then the game, just briefly go over Chargers-Panthers. Let's just quickly go over the Panthers. Basically, I got Bryce Young's not the answer. You pick up any defense that is versing the Panthers. That's what I got from the offense. Nothing. I mean, you can say Chuba had 10 attempts for 82 yards, but no, they're not it. I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to start trading people. But over some more exciting side of things, the Chargers go out there. Quentin Johnston, 3 receptions, 6 targets, 51 yards. He does have 2 touchdowns, though. He looks like the clear wide receiver 1 for the Chargers after 2 weeks. And I think he could be worth the potential flex play going forward. I think I'd probably give him 1 more week because this was kind of a boom week for him. What do you guys think about Quentin Johnston?
I'm not all into Quentin Johnston. I think that this was just a Carolina Panthers effect. They are so bad, dude. Like literally so bad. I'd start Quentin Johnston against the Carolina Panthers every single week. They suck. So I'm not, unless something dramatically changes in this offense, Quentin Johnston is not going to be that guy I'm looking for. Super, super volatile. He could have a 60-yard touchdown. He could also drop a 60-yard touchdown. So, yeah, I'm not big into Quentin Johnston.
Yeah, I agree. Quentin Johnston, I think a lot of people say I pick him up off of waivers. I would not hurry up and be like, he's my number 1 waiver target this week whatsoever. Like I think he still has to show more. Like he's been in the league for 2 years. Last year he didn't do nothing. His first decent game ever. So let's see if he can do more. Then I think he'd be worth a pickup.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then I think all the other receiving options I'm not starting. Lads would bench, I would say, till we see something good. But the big boom, J.K. Dobbins looks great again. 17 carries, 131 yards, a touchdown, 19 points. I feel like he's an every week must start going forward. And a solid RB2, just not any involvement in the passing game, but just these rushing numbers are absurd, averaging over 6 yards a carry. There's a stat he averaged over 6 yards a carry through his first 250 carries. That is just what you want for running back. It's better than Nick Chubb numbers, and Nick Chubb is a unit. But also just a quick note, Gus also gets involved. He actually outcarried Dobbins, 18 carries for 59 yards. I would say he's worth a stash. I feel like he's more of the goal line back. J.K. Dobbins is more of just a agility. He's gonna get out there, do some jukes. Yeah. But what do you guys think about the running backs?
I'm just happy for this dude, man. This man has been through the ringer, Achilles, ACL, every single thing you could imagine he has done. And so honestly, just genuinely happy for the guy, just getting to play football, like besides fantasy, like this man is just like actually playing football, and it's good to see because he's a good player. If you watched him, the last 4 years when he's on the field, he's good. Like he's a great player. Like I was saying, he averages 6.5 yards a carry, man. Like those are elite numbers. So this is good to see from J.K. Dobbins. I wasn't expecting this, obviously, coming off of multiple Achilles injuries, but this is good to see, and he's going to be a great start moving forward. So,
Yeah, I think Dobbins is good. I mean, clearly we can see, was it 35 carries between two people? Like that's a ton of carries. So clearly the Chargers want to run the ball. Gus is a legit bust. He is so slow. Like 18 for
59.
60 yards, 59. Like that's horrendous. So yeah, I think it's just whatever. All right. Time for the Saints and Cowboys game. Clint Kubiak is the GOAT, clearly, in the Saints offense. When have we ever seen the Saints offense ever do this? Saints are starting off on fire. Must lead the way of Carr. No one expected Carr to do this. 21 fantasy points last game. Kind of playing like an MVP right now. Like, Carr is playing really solid. Like, this Carr has never been existent anywhere. I mean, I guess in 2016 with the Raiders, this is the type of Carr we're getting right now, which is a good thing to see. I would say I was completely wrong about Alvin Kamara. He's probably the best draft pick at his value, playing simple right now. He is an RB1. He had 43 fantasy points his last game. He is performing really well in this Clint Kubiak offense, and I feel like that is why, like, he came from Shanahan tree like this. We had Christian McCaffrey, and he's going, insane. So I was wrong about Alvin Kamara. Another bright spot on his offense is Rashid Shaheed. Seems to be Derek Carr's wide receiver one. 19 fantasy points last week he had 19 as well, or close to 19 points. This week he had 19 fantasy points as well. I see him as being a good flex play. I've seen him in waivers. I don't know, in a couple of my leagues. If he's on waivers, he is a definitely worth the waiver wire pickup easily. I think he is Carr's, for whatever reason, number one guy. I don't know why Derek Carr loves Shaheed this much, but hey, whatever works for Carr is working. Chris Olave shut out today. He had 12 fantasy points. He almost had a touchdown, got tackled at the 1 yard line. It was more of a jump ball. He just his body landed at the 1 yard line. So he could have had more points, but he just got tackled at the 1 yard line. He's kind of had a slow start, his last two games, like 12, and last week he had I think 3 or 8 or whatever he had. But I feel like, pretty soon, like this, it's going to pick up for Chris Olave, especially because I don't see them continuously blowing out teams like how they have been, especially how they just blew up the Cowboys. I would say he's also he's a good trade target if people are like, oh, he's not performing for me. I can see him probably kind of like a buy low target. What do you think about the Saints offense?
I think Saints offense look great. I think they're the team to beat right now in the NFC. Stat their starting team has scored 15 for 15 on all their opening drives. That's just a crazy stat. Derek Carr looks great, and we also did call the Alvin Kamara Christmas game last week as we were talking about the Joe Mixon having an Alvin Kamara Christmas game. Alvin Kamara literally got a little jealous and went out there and absolutely destroyed it. But yeah.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Saints look great, and they're the team to beat, man. There was a stat where in the last regular season game of last year, they scored 47 points. Week 1, they scored 47 points. If they scored 47 points again, which they scored 44, they would have been the first top 3 team to ever do that. Like they would join an elite company with like Randy Moss and Tom Brady, which is just a really, really cool stat. I mean, where was this when Derek Carr was on the Raiders? That's all I have to say, man. That's all I have to say.
Let's quickly go to the Cowboys. Dak, 14 fantasy points, had 2 interceptions, underperforming. CeeDee Lamb, 19 fantasy points. Good start. Had a touchdown in the first half, so he had most of his points in the first half of the game. Quickly died out. You expect more of a top 3 pick, but I'm not complaining about CeeDee Lamb putting up 19 points. And then another, Jalen Tolbert, he had 14 fantasy points. Could be a good stash, could be a good play. It could just be because, Ferguson's out, and so that he's just, Dak's just looking for someone else to throw to. So Tolbert could be a good pickup. I think it just depends on, could be a good stash later on. The running backs really didn't do anything. Rico Dowdle had 59 yards. Zeke had 32. Running backs in this game really didn't do well whatsoever. So what do you guys think about the Cowboys?
I think Dak's going to throw the ball. I'm not worried. CeeDee Lamb looked good on that one play. They were just getting killed the whole game. So it probably made them give up a little bit. But I'm not panicking on the Cowboys offense.
Neither am I. There's no reason to panic here. The Saints are just surprisingly just elite. Like they're just running teams over right now. And the Cowboys couldn't even keep up, man. It was honestly shocking. Not panicking with the Cowboys. I think that this is still a great offense.
Yeah. On to the Bucks. Bucks kind of had a big upset this week against the Lions, who knocked them out earlier in the playoffs. Baker playing really good football right now. He had 21 fantasy points. Depending on your QB situation, I feel like Dak is a good every week start, especially with Baker, especially in this offense with Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin with 24 fantasy points. He is absolutely dominating in the slot right now, and this is what everybody wanted to see him in. I know like last season they kind of faded away from him being in the slot, and now he's in the slot, and he's performing well in the slot. Mike Evans had a kind of a down game. He had 7 fantasy points. That's fine. I think Mike Evans, he is going to have those games because he's going to have those games where he catches, 3 touchdowns and goes for like 125 yards. So like you live and die by the sword. I'm not worried about Mike Evans whatsoever. Rachaad White, he is who I thought Alvin Kamara was with his volume. He gets tons of volume, but he is terrible. Bucky Irving is slowly catching up. Bucky Irving ran with the ball better last game. So I think, Bucky Irving you see out there, he could be a good stash. But I think Rachaad White his volume, his efficiency could get a little better. The offensive line got kind of absolutely ran through by the Lions. Hutchinson had 5 sacks. So like that kind of shows how dominant the Lions offensive line was. So I feel like Rachaad White could have better games, but I'm not too high on Rachaad White whatsoever. What do you guys think about this Bucs offense?
Dude, great things out of Chris Godwin here. This is exactly what you wanted to see. This is going back to his wide receiver 2 days with Jameis Winston at quarterback. Looking really good there. He's going to be a solid wide receiver 2 moving forward, in my opinion, just playing in the slot in this offense. He played. I'm pretty sure that he played like 50% of his snaps in the slot last year. Now he's played like 75% this year, which is just elite production, which you love to see. Mike Evans is still going to be good. I'm not really worried about Mike Evans. I am worried about Rachaad White though. His talent is just not good. Like we saw it last year. He wasn't producing on his targets. It was the only reason he was good is because he got everything. He got every pass, every opportunity at the goal line, and that's not going to happen anymore with Bucky Irving there. So,
yeah, I think Bucks look good. I mean, they're off to a 2-0 start, right? They won week 1, pretty sure. Off to a 2-0 start. I mean, Chris Godwin's, I don't know how he fell to the 8th round in drafts. That's just absurd. Wide receiver 1 right now in fantasy, great pick. I'm honestly buying Chris Godwin, and if anyone's panicking on Mike Evans, I'm buying him if I can anywhere. I think he's going to be great going forward. Rashad White, I'm just going to hold. He versus Denver this week, and I'm not trying to sell him right now after a bad game.
Yeah.
On to the lines real quick. Jared Goff, 9 fantasy points through 2 picks. Jared Goff right now kind of getting off to a slow start. I don't really know what's going on with that Lions offense. Kind of seems like they're not, really meshing well right now. Both running backs had 17 points. Gibbs had way better efficiency than Montgomery, but Monty did have the goal line work, which is not really surprising, but he had more catches than Gibbs, which that was a little bit surprising, even though we always think like Gibbs is the pass catcher in that backfield. But they both finished with 17 fantasy points, so not really complaining there. I do see Gibbs, though, later in the season becoming a bigger – I mean, Gibbs is already a factor, but I do see Gibbs exploding more. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 22 fantasy points on 19 targets. Kind of a lot of targets, but hey, he got the job done. Kind of banged up. Something to monitor. I know like one report was like he had cramps, and another one was like a contusion. I also seen people say it's like it's his knee. There's kind of like mixed reports about St. Brown. I was trying to figure out if he practiced today, but I couldn't find anything if he practiced today. So we'll see. But I do like him if he plays, if he's healthy. I think he should be fine. Cardinals this week. This is going to be a very high-scoring game. So I think, St. Brown could have another one of those explosive games. Jameson Williams, 12 fantasy points. Seems to be the wide receiver 2 for this offense right now, clearly. Solid flex play. And he has potential to have a really explosive week. Like we saw, week 1 where he went off for like 34 fantasy points. So Jameson Williams, from here on out, is a solid flex play. Laporta Potties. He has disappeared completely from his offense. Don't know what's going on there. The offense seems to not really be looking at him, or it's just that defenses are just focusing on him a lot more like the red zone. I mean, last year he had 10 touchdowns. So I don't really know what's going on with Laporta right now, but I'm not too worried about Laporta. I like him still. He could be a low target, and later on the offense he could later on this year he could pick it up. What do you guys think about this Lions offense?
Yeah, man. I mean, I agree with everything you said. Really, Laporta is – I don't know what's happening. He had 10 touchdowns last year, and that was – I think he's due for regression. I think he's not going to score 10 touchdowns. And I didn't think he was not going to score points. Like, I was still expecting him to come out and score fantasy points, but that's not even happening. I think he's going to get more involved, but a little bit worried right now. Jameson Williams, man, as a Jameson Williams owner, he's now my wide receiver 1 with A.J. Brown and Deebo Samuel going down. So we're going JMO all the way, man. So, yeah, I think he's going to be explosive against Arizona next week. He had 11 targets. He has 20 targets over his first 2 games. You'd love to see that from Jameson Williams, and he's just becoming that reliable option for Jared Goff. So, yeah, I think overall this offense, their running backs are great. We know they're elite. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think Sam Laporta is the regression we expected. A little more than expected, but and then I think with the running backs, I think if you're Montgomery owner, you hate Gibbs. If you're Gibbs owner, you hate Montgomery. I think that's how it is. Montgomery's doing exactly what he did last year. He's going to have 11 attempts for 50 yards and a touchdown every week. And then Gibbs obviously did great again. I think they both had 17 fantasy points this week. I think they're both must starts going forward until Gibbs outproves Montgomery. But with the way Dan Campbell likes to play, I see it being a 50-50 split the whole year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Unless one of them goes down, instant RB1 instantly. For if either one of them goes down.
Yeah.
Next, we're just gonna do some quick, Cardinals and Rams. Rams offense to the fullest. Rams just unleashed. Murray had 37 fantasy points in this game. Started the game on fire with Harrison. Harrison had 29 fantasy points. Most of those fantasy points came in the first half with back-to-back touchdowns. This is what we've won. This is what we want to see week 1. We saw it week 2, and I think it's only going to go up from here. We saw more of an effort to give Marvin Harrison the ball, especially in the red zone. There's 2 fade routes. One was Kyler Murray's fault. The other one was Marvin Harrison's fault, but the second one was catchable. And I feel like pretty soon this duo is going to be pretty scary of a team. James Conner had 19 fantasy points on this offense. Another solid performance. James Conner's always a start. He's old man, just keeps doing it. Trey McBride, 12 fantasy points. Again, for tight ends, not complaining. That's solid. On the other side of the field, we had Stafford with 10 fantasy points and Kyren Williams with 15 fantasy points. This is going to be a very rough ride for the Rams here for the next at least 4 or 5 weeks. The Rams have 5 players on offense. Cuff's about to go on offense. It's going to make it 6 players on offense. Both their wide receivers, both 1 and 2 wide receivers on IR, and they had a couple O linemen on IR. So Stafford and Williams are about to go through it. As a Williams owner, it's not something I really want to see because I feel like people are going to focus on him, but he could also just explode. So we'll see what happens. Good pickups for this Rams is like Tutu Atwell if you need to, Demarcus Robinson or Whittington. Whittington might be a little sleeper. Let's see how he does this first week without Kupp and Puka there. What do you guys think about this game?
I think it's going to be a struggle. I think going forward, the Rams offense is going to be a struggle. Just also with the waiver wire additions, I think we're just going to have to see what happens because we have no clue how this Rams going to play out. Tyler Johnson could go out there and be the clear receiver 1 with no Kupp and Puka. We just don't know how it's going to play out. And also, a little worried with Kyren just because with Kupp and Puka, that offense is putting up points. But now, obviously, we saw last game, only 10 points. They didn't look like they could score.
Yeah, definitely. I 100% agree. This is going to be brutal. Their offensive line sucks. Might be the worst offensive line in the entire NFL now. So Matthew Stafford's just going to be getting destroyed in the backfield. Anyways, moving on. Going to cover a quick couple games here and just go over some players that I have big takeaways from week 2. Starting with the Raiders-Ravens game. I mean, come on, man. Let's go Raiders. Like, big Raiders fan, and we came out and we beat the Ravens, man. This was a huge win for us. I was surprised, to be quite honest. The Ravens are a great team, but we came out and we shocked them, man. Max Crosby led the defense, 2 sacks in this game. But big takeaways from this game include Devontae Adams and Brock Bowers on the Raiders side. This runs through these two. There's no one else really getting the ball in this offense. Brock Bowers had 9 targets. Devontae Adams had 12 targets. And they both were dominant in this game. This is what you want to see as a Brock Bowers owner. I don't think that Devontae Adams is going to be this like elite wide receiver 1 moving forward. I wasn't really high on him, so my mind hasn't really changed all that much. I think that with Gardner Minshew at quarterback, though, he could have. Obviously, this is in the possibility of fantasy performances from Devontae Adams. So yeah, overall, this offense is run through these two, and their defense is elite in my opinion. And then going over to the Ravens, Lamar, I think he's still going to be a good quarterback. He had 45 rushing yards, but really wasn't able to get it done through the passing game. Zay Flowers looked great. He had 22 fantasy points. I think he's going to be that wide receiver 2 starting moving forward. Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. Mark Andrews ended up getting more volume in this game that we wanted to see that, but still no significant performances from either of them there. And then Derrick Henry had a touchdown, but with his offensive line, they're going to need to improve if Derrick Henry wants to have high upside. Any quick thoughts on that, guys?
I think I'm selling Devontae if I can. I just think off a big week. I mean, I think I see him being a wide receiver 2 going forward. But I mean, if you get some value after a 28-point week, I would. And then I would be buying Brock Bowers everywhere I can. Just because, I mean, through the first 2 weeks, the most receptions in tight end history. I think that was the stats. He's at like 17 receptions. I think he's a great buy. I think he's going to kill. I think he's going to be a top 3 tight end, honestly, going forward rest of the season, the way Kittle and Andrews are playing. And we know Minshew's not going to chuck the ball deep. He's going to check it down to Bowers, and that's what we saw last game.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, Devontae Adams, I don't know. I think I'll hold on to him. Again, like they still don't have a number 1 wide receiver to that team. I mean, they have Brock Bowers, but Devontae Adams, 12 targets. That is a lot of targets. Like he is the clear club wide receiver 1. So I don't think I'm quite of a sell. I mean, I think it's like kind of like tempered expectations on him where he's not going to be able to do this every game. But I do see him, putting up numbers. And I do, I still think he's going to be fine. Brock Bowers, yeah, he's balling out right now.
Yeah, definitely. I don't agree with the sell either. I think he's just a hold. He's Devonta Adams. He's still, that respected elite top receiver in the entire league. So yeah, that's that. Moving on over to the Seahawks Pats game. Seahawks win this game 23-20. The Patriots, Ramondre Stevenson, he did it again, man. He had 21 carries. He had 16 fantasy points. I'm still not bought in to this Ramondre Stevenson RB1 narrative. But we'll have to see moving forward. I don't think the Patriots are gonna score any more points like moving forward. I just don't believe in this offense, man. Hunter Henry was actually really good. He did his once a year tight end one performance. He did this last year where he was the tight end one for the first 2 weeks, and then he just disappeared off the face of the planet. So nothing too much there. When it comes to the Seahawks, Jackson Smith-Njigba is a big takeaway from this game. Coming in with 16 targets. That is just, like Isaiah was saying before, they know how to use Jackson Smith-Njigba, and this is a great sign to see. DK Metcalf scoring more fantasy points than Jackson Smith-Njigba, coming in with, he had a deep touchdown. He was wide open. I don't know how you're not going to guard DK Metcalf. So yeah, those two receivers balling out in this game. Zach Charbonnet was solid, man. He was good. He had like 17 fantasy points. He didn't really make any explosive plays. Nothing jumped off the charts, but he's just going to be a solid volume play. Sitting here with the Seahawks with Kenneth Walker out. But yeah, overall this game, kind of a boring game all around. I don't think that the Patriots are going to be all that good. I will say I have a couple more takeaways from this week. Malik Neighbors, welcome to the NFL. My big time call out. I think you should buy him. He comes out and he has 18 targets. He has 31 fantasy points, and he just balls out, man. He's that dude. Every single time Daniel Jones dropped back, he was throwing the ball to Malik Neighbors. And I just think that there goes your window, man. If you did it, congrats. If you didn't, you're not going to get him. And yeah, I think that he's just that guy, honestly. And when it comes to, there's another quick shout out for Jets Titans game. We haven't really covered this game, but nothing significant happened in this game. Tony Pollard still looks good. Breece Hall looks great. He had that touchdown catch. I'm worried a little bit about Garrett Wilson, I will say. I think that this offense needs time to gel, but I don't know, man. He had 6 targets in this game, and I'm not liking what I'm seeing right now from Garrett Wilson. And then on the other side of the ball, Calvin Ridley. Okay. I'm cool with 2 touchdowns from Calvin Ridley. Isaiah's calling Calvin Ridley a bum earlier, but we all saw that catch he made. That's a bum doesn't make that catch. That was a great catch. And, he's also having a rushing touchdown in this game. So, yeah, man, this was just a quick little recap of this game as well. Nothing really crazy to take away here. Calvin Ridley could be a solid flex play moving forward. And I'm not really high on Garrett Wilson. He's still great, but I want to see it before I can really buy into him. You guys have any final thoughts on any things that I've mentioned?
I would say, would you rather have Neighbors or Marvin Harrison? Because they both went off this week. Marvin Harrison had a little better week than Neighbors by like point. That was a point like 2 or 3 or something like that. So from here on out, who would you guys rather have, Neighbors or Harrison?
I would say
I'm Harrison.
I would say Harrison. Giants offense sucks. He got 20 targets though, so I think they're both gonna be good, but I don't know about that offense.
I think it's closer than you guys think it is. I'm leaning Harrison though, but I think that Malik Neighbors is I'm in love with him. He's so good, bro. Like if you just watch him out there, he's just explosive. He's breaking tackles. He's making great catches. And he's from LSU. Like I think he's going to be the next Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase type player. And he just showed it today. So I think that I'm leaning Marvin Harrison, but I do not be surprised if Malik Neighbors outscores Marvin Harrison in fantasy this year. So, but yeah,
I think I would be surprised. I think Marvin Harrison is clearly. I think Marvin Harrison is better than Neighbors. I'm not saying Neighbors is bad, but I think Neighbors just needs a lot of volume, like to perform. Well, Marvin Harrison doesn't need as much. As
okay. How about this? If you were to switch them on offenses, who'd you rather have?
Well, Neighbors. That would be like
Exactly.
Yeah, so if you switch him on offenses, yeah, but like
Yeah,
I think
Joe's point doesn't prove anything there. It's
It does.
the draft
No,
has
it
now.
does
It's
not.
Because I mean,
Okay.
if Neighbors was on the Cardinals, he'd be that.
Whatever. All right, dumb question. Let's just quick talk about a
All right.
few more players. Isaiah, you cover the Chiefs.
All right, let's go to the Chiefs game. Big injury here. Pacheco got hurt fibula, 6 to 8 weeks. Kind of scary. Pickup steal. Honestly, waivers thinking about it, it's going to be a mess. That backfield is going to be kind of all over the place with them just signing Kareem Hunt. P. Ryan is there and Steele. So I feel like if you want to take a gamble, just take a gamble on whoever your heart desires. Pick them basically at that point. With that being said, the running game for the Chiefs might take a hit. And I feel like this passing game is going to pick it up. Mahomes has not been doing the best whatsoever passing the ball. And it's already been Rashee Rice season, and it's going to be even more of Rashee Rice season. Rashee Rice was my guy going into this year. I tried getting him in almost every league I could, reaching for him basically every league. Rashee Rice is going to be more of an X factor with, I think, Pacheco. Not like he's already been an X factor on this team, but I think that's going to be more of a pass-heavy offense. And then for the other side of the field, the Bengals, Chase seems to be crying like a little baby, especially near the end of the play, kind of costing them. I can't say costing them the game, but it was a big play during the game. And then Burrow also is off to a slow start. I think the Bengals, pick it up. T. Higgins is, I think, supposed to come back this week, which could, help out this offense a decent amount. So what do you guys think about these two teams and what's going on?
Yeah, watch that Bengals Chiefs game. I don't want to too much on it, but I think Mahomes is just being a little. There's like a stat that says he has 17 pass interference called on like fourth down, and that's the most in the NFL. I think that was kind of a crap call. That should not have been called.
I'll say no. That's dumb. I think that pass interference, it was clearly a pass interference. Like, he clearly hit him before the ball was anywhere near him. Like, he dove
I think
through
they're also giving him lenient. They're also giving him lenient because he has 3 Super Bowls and whatever. But that's whatever. I think Kelsey will bounce back eventually. I don't know when. Rashee Rice, top 10 receiver going forward. And then I think this is the last window to buy Jamar Chase. If he doesn't perform against Washington, then he's going to suck the rest of the year. I'm convinced. I think T. Higgins will help, but that's just quick thoughts.
Yeah, if Jamar Chase doesn't put up 50 points next week, we're gonna have major concerns moving forward in fantasy. And yeah, I agree with your guys. Patrick Mahomes is gonna be throwing the ball. Hopefully, he throws the ball more. Who knows? Maybe freaking Carson Steele comes in and turns it into new Isaiah Pacheco. But we haven't seen Patrick Mahomes throw the ball over the last year. Really, we haven't seen anything fantasy productive. So I'm honestly hoping to see that because that could be exciting. So.
Yeah, well, a little longer episode this time, but thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
See you guys.
Peace.
See ya.